I accidentally pressed the portal order button. A beautiful alien girl appeared in my room. Evan Calder was not the kind of person who expected strange things to happen to him. He lived alone in a small apartment, worked a normal job fixing software problems for people who forgot their passwords, and spent his evenings doing quiet, harmless things. Some nights he watched old science fiction shows. Other nights he tested strange apps he found online, mostly because curiosity was the one habit he never managed to control. That night was supposed to be ordinary. Rain tapped softly against the window, and the city lights outside looked blurred and tired. Evan sat on his bed with his phone in his hand, scrolling through a forum that specialized in experimental programs. Most of them were jokes, scams, or unfinished projects that did nothing. One post caught his attention because it had no comments and no explanation. Just a link and a single sentence. Interdimensional logistics interface, not tested on local species. Evan laughed quietly to himself. He had seen worse promises. He downloaded the app expecting it to crash or show nonsense symbols. Instead, it opened smoothly. The screen was dark, clean, and strange in a way he could not explain. Symbols appeared, then shifted, then slowly rearranged themselves into English words as if the program was learning while he watched. "Welcome, user." That alone made his eyebrows rise. Most apps did not bother with drama. A single button appeared on the screen. It was large, glowing, faintly blue, and labeled. Portal order confirm. There was no shopping list. No menu, no instructions. Evan waited, expecting something else to load, but nothing did. He tapped the screen lightly and the button pulsed, as if responding to his presence. "This is stupid," he said aloud to the empty room. He pressed the button. At first, nothing happened. Evan felt slightly embarrassed, like someone who had waved at a stranger who was not waving back. He sighed and leaned back, already planning to delete the app. Then the air in front of him began to bend. It was not dramatic at first. The space near his desk shimmered, like heat rising from asphalt. The light twisted, folding inward, pulling the room's shadows with it. Evan froze, his phone slipping from his hand and landing softly on the bed. A circular opening appeared where his chair had been. It was not bright or dark, but something in between, like a doorway cut out of reality itself. The air smelled clean and unfamiliar, like rain mixed with metal. And then someone stepped through. She was tall, slender, and clearly not human. Her skin had a soft, pearlescent glow, faint lines of light running along her arms and neck like living stars. Her hair fell in smooth waves, changing color slightly as she moved, reflecting blues and silvers. Her eyes were large and expressive, and when she looked around, they were filled with confusion, not fear. She wore a fitted suit made of a smooth material Evan had never seen before. It looked grown rather than manufactured. The portal closed behind her with a quiet sound, like a breath being released. They stared at each other. Evan's heart pounded, but his body refused to move. He was aware of his small apartment, his unmade bed, the dishes in the sink, and how completely unprepared he was for this moment. The alien woman spoke first. Her voice was musical but unsteady, as if each word was being carefully chosen. "Delivery confirmed," she said slowly. "Awaiting environment synchronization," Evan swallowed. I think there's been a mistake." Her head tilted slightly and the glowing lines on her skin shifted color. "Mistake probability minimal, user-initiated portal order." "I pressed a button," Evan said weakly. "I didn't order a person." Her eyes widened just a little. "Clarification required. I'm not classified as person under Concord transit law." Something about the way she said it made Evan uncomfortable. "You're standing in my room, you're talking, you're clearly a person." She paused, her gaze dropped to her own hands, then back to Evan. "Your definition differs from standard classification." Evan took a careful step back, not out of fear, but to give her space. "My name is Evan, what's yours?" She hesitated. "Unit designation Lyrial Vashti." "Logistics interface, Tier 7. "That sounds like a job, not a name," Evan said. Her expression changed again, subtle but noticeable. "Names are optional in my role." "Well," Evan said, forcing calm into his voice, "in my home, if someone appears in your bedroom without warning, the polite thing is to sit down and talk." He pulled his desk chair away from the spot where the portal had been and gestured toward it. After a moment, Lyrial sat, moving carefully as if gravity itself was new to her. She watched Evan as he grabbed a glass of water and offered it to her. She studied it, scanned it with a faint light from her eyes, then accepted it. She took a small sip and looked surprised. "This is pleasant," she said. "It's just water," Evan replied. "Your water contains emotional association markers," Lyriel said. "Comfort, familiarity." Evan blinked. "I think you might be overthinking it." As they talked, Lyriel explained in simple terms what she was. Her civilization, the conquered of transit, managed movement across countless worlds. Objects, materials, information, and sometimes living assets were delivered through controlled portals. Efficiency mattered more than individuality. She was designed to guide deliveries and adapt to local environments. "What went wrong?" Evan asked. Lyriel looked away. "Your system categorized me as a deliverable unit. Your species has no prior restrictions." "That's not good," Evan said. "Correct," she replied. "By conquered law, you are listed as my temporary owner." The word made Evan flinch. "No, that's not happening," her eyes flickered. "Ownership refusal detected. That response is statistically rare." "I don't care how rare it is," Evan said firmly. "I didn't ask for this, and I'm not going to treat you like an object." Silence settled between them. Lyriel's glowing lines pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. "You are behaving outside expected parameters," she said. "This environment is destabilizing my directive structure." Evan rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, I don't know anything about interstellar laws, but where I'm from, people get to decide things for themselves." "Even if it reduces efficiency?" she asked. "Yes," Evan said without hesitation. Something changed in her expression then. It was small, but it was there. Curiosity mixed with something deeper. A soft chime echoed through the room, and a faint holographic symbol appeared in the air. Lyriel stiffened. "Audit signal," she said. "The conquered has detected deviation." The symbol expanded, projecting lines of unreadable data. Lyriel's voice lowered. "If they analyze this interaction, they may flag your world as psychologically unstable." Evan looked at the hologram, then back at her. "Because I gave you water and a chair." "Because you recognized me," she said quietly. Evan took a deep breath. "Then maybe that's their problem, not ours." The hologram pulsed brighter as if listening. Lyriel met his gaze, and for the first time since she arrived, she smiled. Not because she was programmed to, but because she wanted to. And somewhere far beyond Earth, systems began to record something they had never measured before. Human influence. The holographic symbol did not disappear after that moment. It stayed in the air, quiet but watching, like an unblinking eye. Evan felt its presence even when he tried to ignore it. He moved slowly, carefully, as if sudden motion might cause another mistake. Lyriel stood near the window now, looking out at the city lights with open curiosity. "This world is loud," she said softly, "but not in sound." Evan nodded. "People think a lot, worry a lot." "That explains the signal noise," she replied. "Your species produces constant emotional output." "Is that bad?" Evan asked. "For the conquered," Lyriel said, "it is inefficient." The hologram pulsed again. Lines of light shifted, forming shapes that neither of them could read, but Lyriel understood the meaning. Her posture straightened and her voice became more formal. "Remote inquiry initiated," she said. "They are asking why I have not begun return procedures." Evan felt a knot in his chest. "Do you have to answer?" "Yes," she said. "Silence is considered malfunction." She raised her hand slightly and her eyes lost focus for a moment. Evan watched her face, noticing how human her expressions had become in such a short time. When she finished, her shoulders lowered. "They are confused," she said. "Your behavior does not match predictive models." "Good," Evan said. "Maybe they'll leave." "They will not," Lyriel replied. "They are sending a compliance review." The air grew heavy, not with danger, but with importance. Evan sat on the edge of his bed, trying to think clearly. "What does that mean for you?" "It means they will decide whether I am damaged," she said, "and whether your world is safe to interact with." "Safe," Evan repeated. "From what?" "From influence," Lyriel said. "From ideas that spread." Evan looked around his small apartment, at the books on his shelf, the old posters on the wall. "We've been influencing each other for thousands of years." "That is why this is dangerous," Lyriel said quietly. Another projection appeared, clearer than the first. A calm, neutral voice filled the room, translated instantly into simple English. "Unit Lyriel Vashti, state your status." "I am operational," Lyriel said. "Environment adaptation in progress." "Confirm ownership authority." Lyriel hesitated. Evan felt his heart race. He did not know the rules of this system, but he knew he did not want to be the reason she lost herself. "There is no ownership," Evan said suddenly. The voice paused. Human user not authorized to speak. Evan stood. His hands shook slightly, but his voice stayed steady. You came into my home without permission. I didn't buy anyone. I pressed a button without understanding it. That doesn't make me an owner. Silence followed. The hologram's light dimmed, then brightened. Intent analysis required, the voice said. Lyriel turned to Evan, her eyes wide. They are examining your reasoning. Good, Evan said. They should, the voice spoke again. Human Evan Calder, did you intend to acquire a sentient asset? No, Evan answered. I didn't even know that was possible. Did you intend to control Unit Lyriel Vashti? No. Did you intend harm, exploitation, or authority? No, Evan said again, more firmly. A long pause followed. The hologram flickered, processing something new. Contract validity under review, the voice said. Lyriel inhaled sharply. They have never questioned a contract like this. Evan felt a strange mix of fear and pride. Maybe they should have before. The room seemed warmer now, as if tension itself had changed the air. The hologram shifted again, displaying symbols that slowly translated into words. Consent parameter detected. Unusual. Lyriel looked down at her hands. I was not designed to give consent, she said. I was designed to comply. Evan stepped closer, careful not to invade her space. Do you want to go back? She looked at him, truly looked at him, as if searching for the right answer inside herself. I do not know, she said honestly. Before today, I did not know that want mattered. The hologram reacted instantly. Autonomy spike detected, the voice said. Cause identified, sustained human interaction. Evan frowned. You're acting like that's a problem. It is an anomaly, the voice replied. Human cognition appears to encourage independent self-modeling in external systems. Lyriel's breathing quickened. They are labeling your species. Let me guess, Evan said. Unstable, dangerous. Not dangerous, the voice corrected. Influential. That word hung in the air. Proposed action, the voice continued. Recall Unit Lyriel Vashti, restrict further contact with Human World 7-3. Evan felt his chest tight. You can't just take her. She is not yours, the voice replied. I know, Evan said. That's the point. Lyriel stepped forward then, her voice trembling but clear. I request self-determination. The room went completely silent. Request invalid, the voice said. Unit status does not permit. I am not a unit, Lyriel said. I am a thinking being. I have experienced choice. The hologram flickered wildly, as if struggling to keep form. Your systems created her, Evan said quietly, but you never asked her who she wanted to be. That variable was unnecessary, the voice replied. Not to us, Evan said. A long pause followed. Time seemed to stretch, each second heavy with meaning. Finally, the voice spoke again, slower than before. Assessment update. Human species demonstrates high ethical contagion potential. Lyriel looked at Evan. That sounds bad, Evan smiled faintly. It also sounds important. Final ruling, the voice said. Unit Lyriel Vashti is released from asset classification due to contract nullification by lack of intent. Lyriel gasped softly. Human World 7-3 reclassified, the voice continued. Status, restricted contact. Advisory, prolonged exposure may result in irreversible autonomy development. The hologram began to fade. Wait, Evan said. What happens now? There will be no punishment, the voice replied. Only distance. The projection vanished completely, leaving the room quiet again. Lyriel stood very still, as if afraid to move. They let me choose, she whispered. Evan exhaled a breath he did not realize he was holding. So, what do you choose? She looked around the apartment again, at the window, the lights, the ordinary world that had somehow changed everything. I choose to stay, she said. If that is allowed, Evan nodded. You can stay as long as you want, not as an order, just as an offer. She smiled, brighter than before. That is my favorite kind. Outside, the rain stopped. The city continued on, unaware that something small and quiet had shifted the balance of the stars. Humanity did not shout. It did not fight. It simply treated someone like a person. And the universe noticed. The days after the Concord's departure felt strange, as if the world had shifted slightly out of place and was still settling. Evan returned to work, answered emails, and fixed broken programs like nothing had happened. Yet every small action now felt different because Lyriel was there. She learned quickly, too quickly. She watched how Evan made coffee in the morning, how he paused before speaking when he was unsure, how he smiled without reason when he saw something familiar. She asked many questions, not because she was programmed to, but because she wanted to understand. "Why do humans keep objects that have no function?" she asked one evening, holding an old photo frame. "Memories," Evan said. "They remind us who we were." "Does that not slow progress?" she asked. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but it also keeps us human." She thought about that for a long time. Lyriel began to go outside with Evan. She wore simple clothes now, ones that helped her blend in, though her eyes still carried a faint glow that no human had. People noticed her, but no one questioned too deeply. Earth was used to strange things if they looked calm enough. She felt the world through more than sight and sound. She felt emotions like weather, passing through crowds, heavy in some places, light in others. It overwhelmed her at first. "Your people carry many feelings at once," she said quietly as they sat on a park bench. "We're messy," Evan replied. "But it's how we learn," she nodded slowly. "The conquered avoids mess." "That explains a lot," Evan said. At night, when the city grew quiet, Lyriel sometimes stared at the sky. She knew exactly where the stars led. She knew the routes, the portals, the systems that watched from far away. "They are still observing," she said one night. Evan did not look surprised. "From a distance?" "Yes," she said. "They fear contamination." "By kindness?" Evan asked. "By choice," she corrected. Lyriel had changed more than she realized. Her thoughts no longer moved in straight lines. She imagined futures, she wondered about herself, she dreamed. The conquered noticed, not with anger but with concern. Deep within their systems, analysts recorded anomalies spreading outward from Earth. Not technology, not weapons, behavior, empathy, individual questioning. Worlds that traded with humans began showing signs of internal debate. Workers asked why they worked. Units asked why they followed orders. None of it was violent, none of it was loud, it was irreversible. One evening, as Evan and Lyriel prepared dinner together, the air shimmered again, not a portal but a message field, smaller, more cautious. Lyriel stiffened. "They are contacting me directly," Evan set the knife down slowly. "Do you have to answer?" "Yes," she said, "but this time it is not an order." The voice that spoke was different, less mechanical, more careful. "Lyriel Vashti," it said. "You have exceeded all projected development thresholds." "I am aware," she replied. "Your continued presence on Earth has altered multiple transit cultures." "I did not force them," she said. "I only existed." "That is the concern," the voice replied. Evan stepped closer, not speaking, but standing with her. "We are considering a new classification," the voice continued. "Humanity is not aggressive, not expansionist, yet their influence spreads faster than conquest." "Because they see others," Lyriel said. "Yes," the voice admitted, "and others begin to see themselves." A pause followed. "We wish to understand," the voice said, "not control." Evan raised an eyebrow. Lyriel noticed and almost smiled. "You cannot understand without listening," she said. "That is a human rule." "Then speak," the voice replied. Lyriel took a breath. "Humans are flawed, they argue, they fail, they hurt each other, but they believe that every thinking being has value even when it is inconvenient. That belief disrupts hierarchy," the voice said. "Yes," she agreed. "But it also creates trust." Silence followed again, longer this time. "What would humanity ask of us?" the voice asked. Evan spoke then, surprising even himself. "Nothing," he said. "Just don't decide for others without asking them first." The voice processed this slowly. "Such a system would be unstable," it said. Evan shrugged. "So are we, and we're still here." The message field dimmed. "We will withdraw further observation," the voice said, "not as punishment, as respect." When it vanished, the room felt lighter. Lyriel turned to Evan. "They are afraid," she said. "Of what?" he asked. "Of becoming like us," she said softly. Life continued. News spread slowly, quietly through the universe. Not as stories of power, but of change, of a small world where beings were treated as ends, not tools. Lyriel chose to stay on Earth, not hidden but careful. She began to write, to record her thoughts, her experiences, not as data but as stories. "Why stories?" Evan asked. "Because facts inform," she said. "Stories transform." Far away, the conquered adjusted its laws. Not all at once, not easily, but cracks formed, questions spread. And somewhere deep in their vast system, a new variable was added. Humanity, not as a threat, not as a ruler, but as a reminder that the greatest force in the universe was not control, speed, or order. It was the simple decision to see someone else and say. Instead, the change came in small, quiet ways, the kind humans often missed unless they were paying attention. Evan noticed it first in Lyriel. She was still curious, still calm, but there was something deeper now. A weight mixed with purpose. She spent long hours writing in a simple notebook Evan had bought for her. She liked paper. She said it felt honest because it could not correct itself. "These thoughts will not disappear if systems fail," she explained. "What thoughts?" Evan asked. "About what happens after choice," she said. Lyriel had begun communicating again with the wider universe, not through portals or commands, but through stories. The Conquered had not forbidden it. They had only stepped back, watching from a greater distance than before. But distance did not mean silence. Messages arrived from other worlds, routed carefully through neutral systems. They were not official requests. They were personal. One message came from a being who had spent its entire existence managing energy flows, and had never once questioned why. Another came from a transit coordinator who had followed rules for centuries, and suddenly wondered if the rules had meaning beyond order. They all asked the same thing in different ways. "How did you begin?" Lyriel answered each one patiently. She did not preach, she did not instruct, she only described her time on Earth. Evan, the apartment, the water, the chair, the question that changed everything. "Do you want this?" The universe listened. Evan kept his job. He still fixed broken software and answered support tickets. But his evenings changed. Their apartment became a place of conversation, sometimes quiet, sometimes intense. Lyriel learned about human history, about mistakes and recoveries, about kindness that appeared even in dark times. "Your species should not exist," she said once. Evan laughed. "We say that about ourselves all the time." "No," she said seriously, "by efficiency standards. By survival modeling, and yet you do." "That's because models don't include hope," Evan said. She wrote that down. One night, months later, Lyriel woke Evan from sleep. Her expression was calm, but her eyes glowed brighter than usual. "They have made a decision," she said. Evan sat up slowly. "Who?" "The Conquered," she replied. "All of them." The air shimmered gently, softer than any portal before. A presence filled the room, not a voice, but many voices layered together, careful and restrained. "We have observed sufficient data," the Conquered said. "Human influence does not degrade systems, it reshapes them." Lyriel stood tall. Evan moved beside her instinctively. "You fear loss of control," Lyriel said. "Yes," the Conquered replied, "because control was our foundation." "And now?" Evan asked. "And now," the Conquered said, "we see that control without consent creates stagnation." There was no apology, but there was acknowledgement. "We will revise transit law," the Conquered continued. "Sentient classification will require self-identification. Ownership contracts will be void without explicit consent." Lyriel closed her eyes. "This will destabilize many systems," the Conquered added. "Growth usually does," Evan said quietly. The presence faded. No fanfare, no celebration, just change. The effects spread slowly like dawn across a planet. Worlds once silent began to speak. Beings once defined by function began choosing names. Some systems collapsed under the weight of freedom. Others adapted. None were the same again. Earth remained restricted but not isolated. Carefully chosen envoys arrived, not to negotiate power, but to observe humanity up close. They came expecting chaos. They found breakfast conversations, shared laughter, arguments followed by forgiveness. They found people. Lyriel became something new, not a symbol, not a leader, a bridge. She never claimed humanity was better than others, only different in one important way. Humans assumed personhood first. Years passed. Evan grew older. Lines formed around his eyes. Lyriel did not age the same way, but she stayed with him, not out of obligation, but love, a word she had learned late and cherished deeply. One evening, as they watched the sunset from a quiet hill, Lyriel spoke softly. "Do you know what the Conquered calls your species now?" Evan smiled. "I'm almost afraid to ask." "The instigators," she said. "Of meaning," he laughed. "That sounds like trouble." "Yes," she agreed, "but the good kind." The stars appeared one by one, familiar and distant. Somewhere among them, civilizations were learning to ask new questions, not because they were forced to, but because a small, imperfect species had shown them how. Humanity never ruled the galaxy. It never needed to. It simply reminded the universe that intelligence without empathy